Commander Aurelia Threx, a towering alien war officer, is nearly killed during a routine station operation. A structural failure causes a massive energy conduit to collapse. Her combat mind predicts death in less than 1 second. Escape is impossible. A human maintenance worker, Evan Cole, slams into her, knocking her clear. He takes the full hit, broken ribs, burns, crushed shoulder. He survives through pure stubbornness. Aurelia cannot understand why a non-soldier would risk death. Evan treats it as normal. He refuses praise, refuses reward, and asks only if the system is stable. Alien culture demands life debts. Humans do not. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Commander Aurelia Threx had survived wars that erased entire cities from history. She had stood on burning worlds and watched sons die behind enemy shields. She had faced creatures that hunted armored soldiers for sport. She did not expect death to come quietly, inside a maintenance corridor during a routine station inspection. The warning came too late. A deep vibration shuddered through the metal floor beneath her boots. Aurelia's combat mind activated instantly, flooding her awareness with data. Structural integrity failure, power conduit overload, mass displacement detected above her position. Her 4 eyes tracked upward as the ceiling split open. A gravitic conduit, the size of a transport vehicle, tore free from its mounts and dropped straight toward her. Her implants calculated the outcome in a fraction of a second. Impact in 0.73 seconds. Evasion routes, none. Survival probability, 0. Aurelia tensed, her armored muscles locking as instinct prepared her for the end. There was no fear, only irritation. To die like this, without battle, without purpose, was an insult to everything she had earned. Then something hit her from the side. Hard. The force slammed into her torso and sent her flying across the corridor. She struck the far wall with enough power to crack metal plating. The world spun as alarms screamed. The conduit smashed down where she had been standing, crushing the deck into twisted wreckage. For a long moment, there was only smoke, sparks, and the hiss of escaping energy. Aurelia rolled to her feet, all 4 arms raised, ready for an attack that did not come. Her vision cleared and her sensors scanned for threats. Instead, she saw a human lying on the floor. He was smaller than her by more than half, thin, soft-looking. His maintenance suit was scorched and torn, one sleeve burned completely away. He clutched his side, gasping for breath, his face pale with pain. Still, he looked up at her. "You okay?" he asked, his voice strained but steady. Aurelia froze. No enemy, no weapon. Just a human technician who had thrown himself into the path of death. "I am unharmed," she said slowly. The human let out a weak breath that might have been a laugh. "Good. That thing almost turned you into paste." He tried to sit up and failed, gritting his teeth as pain rippled through him. Aurelia stared. She stood over 7 feet tall, her body reinforced with layered muscle and combat plating grown from her own cells. Ceremonial scars marked her arms and shoulders, symbols of victories earned in blood. Her rank alone made seasoned warriors step aside in corridors. This human looked like a strong breeze could knock him over. "You intervened," Aurelia said. "Why?" The human shrugged as best he could while lying on the floor. "Didn't really think about it. You were about to get crushed. You could have been killed." "Yeah," he said. "Probably." He finally managed to sit up, leaning against the wall, breathing hard. Worth it, though. Station security rushed in moments later, weapons raised, then lowered when they saw the situation. Medical drones followed, scanning injuries. The human waved one away. "I'm fine, mostly. Need to file a failure report before this thing drops on someone else." A drone ignored him and injected pain suppressants anyway. Aurelia watched silently as they lifted him onto a stretcher. "What is your name?" she asked. "Evan Cole," he replied, "engineering third shift." Before she could say more, they carried him away down the corridor, leaving behind wreckage and confusion. Aurelia remained where she stood long after the alarms faded. In her quarters that night, Aurelia reviewed the incident from every angle. Her combat mind replayed the data again and again. The human had no protective gear, no enhanced reflexes, no tactical advantage. Yet he had moved without hesitation. She accessed station personnel records and pulled Evan Cole's file. No military service, no combat training, no disciplinary issues, a civilian engineer assigned to infrastructure maintenance, high performance marks, frequent voluntary overtime. Nothing explained his actions. In her culture, such an act created a life debt, a bond that could last generations. Families would be tied by obligation and honor. The human had not even asked her name. Over the following days, Aurelia found herself noticing humans more. They were everywhere, crawling through access shafts too small for other species, repairing systems in radiation zones just long enough to keep them running, carrying supplies, cleaning damage, restoring power. They joked while working, complained about food, shared tools without argument. When equipment failed, humans did not ask who was responsible. They fixed it. When someone was hurt, humans helped first and asked questions later. Evan Cole returned to work 3 days after the accident, his movements stiff, one arm still bandaged. Aurelia encountered him during a patrol. He nodded at her politely and continued tightening a panel. "You should be resting," she said. He smiled. "Station doesn't fix itself." She almost ordered him away, almost. Instead, she walked on, unsettled by a feeling she did not recognize. 2 weeks later, the station's long-range sensors detected an anomaly. An unidentified vessel dropped out of subspace just beyond weapon range. No transponder, no response to hails. The station shifted to combat readiness. Aurelia took her place at the tactical command console, her 4 hands moving across layered interfaces with practiced ease. Her mind split focus, tracking energy readings, shield output, and weapons charge. The unknown ship was wrong. Too quiet, too clean. Its weapons signatures were masked, but not enough to hide what they were. Not pirates. Something worse. "Alert all sectors," Aurelia ordered. "Defensive positions, prepare for engagement." The enemy ship fired first. Energy lanced across space, slamming into the station's shields. Defense turrets responded instantly, filling the void with fire. The exchange was brief but violent. Then a missile slipped through. It struck the lower engineering decks. The station shuddered as power flickered. "Damage report." The station commander shouted. "Hull breach in Engineering Sector 4, came the response. "Multiple system failures. Emergency bulkheads deploying." Engineering Sector 4. Aurelia's secondary mind pulled up duty assignments without her meaning to. Evan Cole. She pushed the thought aside and focused on the battle. The enemy vessel attempted to close distance, perhaps expecting the station to falter. It was a mistake. Aurelia launched countermeasures with ruthless precision. Proximity mines shredded the enemy's propulsion array. Boarding teams moved in to secure the crippled ship. The battle ended in under 10 minutes. Victory should have felt satisfying. It did not. The moment command released her, Aurelia headed for engineering. Sector 4 was chaos. Emergency lights cast harsh shadows over twisted metal. Atmosphere pumps struggled to restore pressure. Engineers and medics moved through smoke and debris with practiced urgency. Aurelia found Evan near a temporary medical station. He was alive. Relief hit her harder than she expected. He lay on a stretcher, an oxygen mask covering his face. Burns marked his neck and shoulder. His left arm was immobilized. He was arguing with a medic. "I'm telling you, the coolant line is unstable," Evan insisted. "If it ruptures, the whole lower grid goes dark." "You are not moving," the medic replied flatly. "Then send someone else. Junction 7, reverse the flow. You've got maybe 20 minutes. Aurelia stepped forward. "I will do it." Both human and medic stared at her. "With respect, Commander," the medic said, "this is specialized." "He will guide me," Aurelia said, turning to Evan. "If you can explain the process, I can execute it." Evan hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, yeah, you'll need a toolkit and emergency sealant." Minutes later, Aurelia crawled into damaged access tunnels, her armored body scraping against bent supports. Evan's voice guided her through the comm link, calm despite his injuries. "Left junction, no, the other left. Yeah, that one." Heat washed over her as she sealed ruptured lines. A secondary explosion rocked the tunnel, trapping her momentarily behind collapsed plating. She braced with two arms and forced the panel aside with the others, muscles screaming. "Almost there," Evan said. "You're doing great." She completed the bypass with seconds to spare. Power stabilized. Lights returned. When she emerged, Evan was unconscious, the medic finally victorious. Aurelia stood beside him for a long time. "You saved my life," she said quietly, "and now I have saved yours." Weeks later, a new alert would come. One far worse than the first. And when it did, strength would not be enough. Commander Aurelia Threx stood alone in the observation corridor, overlooking the stars. The station was quiet again, too quiet. Emergency repairs continued across multiple decks, but the worst damage had been contained. The captured enemy vessel was secured, its crew under guard. Command staff spoke of victory, of efficiency, of successful defense. Aurelia felt none of it. Her thoughts returned again and again to the human engineer lying in the medical wing. Evan Cole. He should have been resting. Instead, he had guided her through fire and collapsing steel while his own body failed him. And now, as if the universe itself demanded balance, the station alarms wailed once more. This time they were different. Not weapons fire. Power failure. The lights flickered, then dimmed to red emergency glow. Aurelia's combat mind activated instantly. Status reports flooded her awareness. Reactor instability detected. Primary containment compromised. Automatic shutdown in 30 minutes. If the reactor shut down completely, life support would follow. Gravity, shields, everything. Evacuation protocols appeared and vanished just as fast. Population too large. Escape capacity insufficient. The station commander's voice echoed through command channels. Engineering report. The reply was strained. Radiation surge in the core chamber. Automated systems failed. Manual override required. Aurelia knew what that meant before the words finished transmitting. Manual. No drone could survive the radiation levels. No armored species could endure the exposure long enough to reach the control valves. No one except maybe a human. She was already moving when she reached the medical wing. Evan lay propped up against a medical support frame, pale, his eyes half-lidded. He looked exhausted, every breath shallow and controlled. He looked at her and frowned. "You're walking like something's on fire." "The reactor core is failing," Aurelia said. "Manual override is required." Evan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was no fear in his expression, only calculation. "How long?" 28 minutes, she replied. He nodded. "That tracks." Aurelia stepped closer, blocking his view of the room. "No, you are injured. I forbid you from attempting this." He gave a small smile. You don't outrank physics, Commander. The radiation will kill you. Eventually, Evan said, not immediately. The medic turned sharply. Absolutely not, he's in no condition. If no one enters the core, Evan said calmly, everyone on this station dies, including you. Silence fell. Aurelia felt something twist inside her chest. I will go. Evan shook his head. You won't make it 5 minutes in there. Your biology isn't built for slow exposure. Mine is. That does not make this acceptable. He met her gaze. Where I come from, when you're the only one who can do something, you do it. Aurelia searched for words, orders, threats, promises of honor, but none of them mattered. Because Evan was already swinging his legs off the medical frame. They suited him up in radiation shielding meant for emergencies, not prolonged exposure. It would slow the damage, not stop it. Aurelia walked beside him, all the way to the core access hatch. I owe you a life debt, she said quietly. Evan paused. No, you don't. You saved me, she insisted. So did you, he replied. That's just how it works. The hatch sealed behind him. Radiation levels spiked instantly. Evan's breathing grew heavier as he moved through the narrow chamber, following instructions from engineering staff who could barely see through the interference. Valve 1, he said. Yeah, got it. His voice crackled over the comms, but it stayed steady. Aurelia stood at the control station, her claws digging into the metal railing as she listened. Sweat beaded on Evan's brow. Blood trickled from his nose. Okay, he coughed. Second junction is stuck. I'm gonna need leverage. He wedged a tool into the valve and leaned with his full weight. His muscles shook, strained far beyond what they were meant to handle. Come on, he whispered. Come on. The valve turned. Radiation alarm screamed louder. Evan, you need to retreat, Aurelia ordered. Almost done, he replied. Just give me a second. That second stretched into an eternity. At the same time, external sensors flared. The enemy had not fled. They were launching boarding pods. Security teams engaged, but they were outnumbered. Reports of civilians arming themselves filled the command channel. Not soldiers. Cooks, technicians, medics. Humans. Aurelia watched in stunned silence as camera feeds showed humans blocking corridors with overturned carts, using tools as weapons, dragging wounded strangers to safety. They did not wait for orders. They did not retreat. They held the line. Final valve engaged, Evan said weakly. Stabilization should kick in now. The reactor core hummed. Power surged. Lights brightened across the station. Weapon systems came back online. Aurelia seized the moment. Fire, she ordered. The station's batteries roared to life, tearing through the enemy boarding vessels. The remaining ships broke formation and fled. The battle was over. Aurelia ran. By the time the core hatch opened, Evan was on his knees, gasping. His skin burned and blistered beneath the suit. He collapsed forward. Medics rushed in, pulling him free, shouting orders, flooding his system with stabilizers. He lived. Barely. Days passed. Then weeks. Evan survived, but he was changed. Radiation damage left scars that would never heal fully. His movements were slower. His strength diminished. He returned to work anyway. One cycle, Aurelia found him in an access bay, struggling with a panel. Without a word, she knelt beside him and took one side. Together they lifted. Didn't think I'd see a war commander doing maintenance, Evan said with a weak smile. I am learning, Aurelia replied. The station council issued new classifications weeks later. Humans were no longer listed as support personnel. They were labeled essential defensive assets. Aurelia declined commendations. Instead, she requested reassignment, permanent station duty. She had learned something no battlefield had taught her. Strength was not just the ability to destroy. Sometimes it was the choice to step forward when no one else could. Evan looked out at the stars one day and shrugged. Guess we're still standing. Aurelia nodded. Yes, she said, because of you. Humanity did not conquer the stars with weapons. They held them together with their hands. And